Hello, I'm KR House, and I write fantasy and science fiction.
And I'm Erin, and I write fantasy fiction and poetry.
And today, we're talking about magic systems, specifically hard and soft magic systems. There's a lot of discourse on the internet, I feel like, about hard versus soft magic systems. So we're going to dig into that a little bit today.
Yeah.
So before we do dig into it, I feel like we should explain what they are.
Yeah.
Should I explain? Do you want to?
We'll see. Okay, so a soft magic system is one where you aren't exactly sure how the magic works. You just know there is magic. And there's a lot more of a whimsical, wondrous quality to the way it's described and used in the story. So you aren't really aware of the constraints or the method of casting it sometimes. It's all a little loosey-goosey in terms of the mechanics, but it's still cool to read about. But it's more that the focus is on that it's just cool. You don't really know what's going on. So in contrast, hard magic system?
Yeah, a hard magic system is sometimes criticized as being just fake science, fake science. Which is kind of the point. It's meant to be magic that the character and you, the reader, can learn how it works. So I feel like hard magic systems are really common in progression fantasy and a lot of ones that focus on a character new to the magic, they can learn it. And a big part of hard magic systems is that the reader is supposed to be able to kind of guess how a character could use it to get out of a situation, or what would be a situation where they couldn't use it to get out of. Brandon Sanderson is, you can't talk about hard magic systems without talking about him. Nope. He really popularized them, I think. I don't think he was the first person to do it, because Wheel of Time is kind of in between.
Yeah,
I think. But Brandon Sanderson is really known for talking about it a lot, and he specifically has 3 laws of magic that I feel like if a magic system has these things, it's probably a hard magic system.
Yes.
Which I don't remember them off the top of my head. Do you remember them off the top of your head?
I do not.
Okay.
But we are going to find them and read them for you so that you might know them on or off the top.
Yes. So the Sanderson's first law of magic is that the author's ability to solve conflict with magic is proportional to the reader's ability to understand the magic. So that's kind of what I was talking about, of how the reader will be able to say, well, I know that they can't use magic to do this, so they're going to have to solve this problem some other way. Or they'll be like, oh, well, maybe if they use the magic in this creative different way, they could solve the problem. And then his second law of magic is that the limitations of the magic is more important than the powers. So what you can't do with the magic is really important to define a hard magic system. You've got to have the boundaries. Which I feel in a soft magic system, Lord of the Rings, is super, it's held up as most commonly known soft magic system probably. Because is there anything Gandalf can't do? We don't know. We have no idea. And that's how he likes it probably. And then the third law is to expand what you already have before you add something new. So I think a good example of this is in, I was going to use Mistborn. I could probably say, yeah, a good example of that last law is in Mistborn, there's things about they can push and pull with different metals. And instead of adding in a totally different thing, oh, they can also burn plants to do this thing. It's no, he just delves really far into what each usage of that can be and takes each type of magic to its fullest. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And also, small plug, if you really want to take an exploration into hard magic systems and think about how you might come up with one, you have a lovely series on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, I do.
Rolling for features of magic systems and putting those together. And it's really fun.
Thank you. So, sometimes they're hard magic systems, sometimes they're soft. Well, the videos are really short. So
yeah.
They don't have, but it is a fun exercise.
Yeah. Cool. So some examples of both of these. We're going to talk about, kind of our personal favorites, I guess, and then some kind of generic ones, I am going to take the most obvious one, I think, for a soft magic system and say Lord of the Rings is definitely a soft magic system. You alluded to that earlier. I think he gives some details, maybe a little bit about how it works, and it does seem somewhat clear that not all characters are capable of using the magic. Would you agree that that's
Yes.
kind of a constraint that's outlined?
For sure.
But in general, you do not, as the reader, have a great grasp of how it works. I would be really shocked if Tolkien had no idea, just because he like goes so in depth, like with everything else. Like, I don't know. I just feel like he probably has to know a little bit, but I don't know.
It's part of like, this is where I think I made a video on TikTok and Instagram about this, where I think people like to argue about soft versus hard magic systems as if they're like things to pit against each other. And I think they're really like different subgenres of fantasy. And like Tolkien, the whole reason that like you're not supposed to know how Gandalf's magic works because Gandalf is like not quite of this world. Like Gandalf is like supposed to be beyond us.
Yeah.
Whereas like the rings, I saw someone do I saw this in a video, someone made a great point that like the One Ring is kind of a hard magic system because you know how it works, that you put it on, you turn invisible, Sauron can see you when you're wearing it. That magic is like has very specific rules and boundaries.
Yeah.
But then someone like Gandalf, who's meant to be this otherworldly force, we don't know. And maybe Tolkien had ideas in his mind about what Gandalf's limitations would be, but we will never know.
Also, who am I to speculate about whether he had thoughts about that? And then I guess almost anything Brandon Sanderson has written is probably a good example of a hard magic system. I would say, on that note, probably my favorite example of a novel with a hard magic system that I've read is probably Tress of the Emerald Sea. I am not very well read as far as Brandon Sanderson's catalog of novels goes, but I did really enjoy the way that magic system worked. And I've also really enjoyed him talking about kind of how he came up with that and where that came from, like what actual scientific concept kind of inspired that. So that, I don't know, small suggestion, maybe look into that if you want to see how, real science can kind of lend itself to that. As far as favorites for soft magic systems, I don't really know if I have one right off the top of my head, because kind of a subgenre that I really enjoy is things that kind of have a mythology to them. And so I think sometimes that can be a soft, kind of seems like a soft magic system. I agree. Yeah. Especially kind of with the Gandalf thing. It's not that Gandalf's magic doesn't have rules, but it's supposed to be beyond you. And so if you've got something with a mythology and a pantheon, that is also supposed to be beyond usually the characters who are not deities in that context. So, yeah. Do
you have a specific, like, thing you're thinking of?
Yeah, I'm thinking Until We Have Faces.
Okay, that's what I would guess. But yes, that...
Anyway. But also Percy Jackson, I mean, it's not, I don't know, it feels weird to categorize it as magic. But also,
I think it kind of is.
Yeah, I think it still kind of counts.
Yeah.
Just as far as it being like, that's really cool, and I don't have to understand how that worked, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I feel like Percy Jackson and Harry Potter are both like,
that is a
kind of in between. Like, because Harry Potter, it's not like super late, like, J.K. Rowling can, whenever she wants, add in a new spell that does whatever she needs it to do for the plot. So it doesn't have like super hard boundaries, but it is not as soft as like Gandalf's magic, because you do know, I know that this spell does this thing. And Percy Jackson's kind of like that too. It's like, do we fully know the extent of the god's powers? Maybe not. But we know that Percy can breathe underwater. So-and-so can do this.
Yeah. So, what are your personal examples, or do you want to add other general ones?
I really like Mistborn's. I think Mistborn has Brandon Sanderson's best magic system. Okay. I made this claim on the internet, and someone was like, well, technically, they're all the same. Like, they're all parts of investiture. I was like, okay. But as its own, I think it's his best one. Because I really think you can't, when characters use it to solve problems, you're like, yes, of course. Why didn't I think that they would do that? Another one, which is not a book, but if you see my other videos, you know I'm obsessed with it, is The Last Airbender. I think has a really good magic system.
Yes,
because like it all makes so much sense, and the way it impacts their world makes a ton of sense. And when you go from the Last Airbender to The Legend of Korra, like the way the magic evolves is as time passes also makes a ton of sense. And I'm able to have my husband and I are able to have conversations where we imagine, okay, but if these people had made it to like space age, what would those powers look like then? Like you're able to like extrapolate from it.
Yeah.
I also, of course, love Lord of the Rings for soft magic, but I'm gonna throw in a deep cut for a soft magic system to be different. And I'm gonna say this middle grade book called Savvy, which definitely has a soft magic system. It is about a family that is the Beaumont family. Their last name is Beaumont. And they all get a special power on their 13th birthday that's like completely random. And it's like, why? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to the story. At this point, the fact that they don't know what power they're going to get kind of makes the story, it kind of improves the story's allegory as it was like for puberty, where it's like, you don't really know as a kid what it's like till you're going through it. And it's different for everyone. So it's like a good metaphor for like growing up. But it's just a really pleasant little middle grade read.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it fits perfectly well because it's more magical realism. Like it's not second world fantasy, but it's definitely soft magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So do you have, what do you prefer to read or write as far as like magic systems? Like which type of magic system do you like best, I guess?
So for reading, I think it just depends on how big of a deal it is in the story. So like I definitely can appreciate a hard magic system, but sometimes if it seems like that is the main focal point of the story is the magic system and how it works, I'm not as invested in that. I don't want to say I don't care about that, but it's definitely not usually the thing I'm most interested in about a story. So I guess as far as preferences go, I don't think I would reject a book just because it seems like it has a hard magic system. But I'm definitely more used to reading the soft magic systems, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. So maybe that's just one of those things. Maybe I need to branch out more. As far as writing, I think usually it's kind of similar. I'm usually drawn to being like, it's just magic, deal with it. But more recently, like in the project I'm working on now, I unexpectedly decided to have a magic system with some real constraints and rules, and I'm just kind of like, no, I actually like thinking about like how this would work. So I think it just kind of depends. It depends on the story and how big of a deal the magic system is. In general, I do like my loosey-goosey soft magic, but can't appreciate the other. So who's surprised? My answer is, I don't know, middle of the road.
I think I'm kind of the same. I'm like, it depends on the book. Like, I think Lord of the Rings would be a lot worse if it had a hard magic system. Like, it doesn't need one. Like, I don't need to know Gandalf's spells. That would make it worse. And likewise, I think, like, Mistborn, the magic system is part of what makes it super cool. And, like, Tress, too, with the spores. Like, that's part of the appeal of the book. But
that's true.
I really just... this is the thing, because I see people talking about this online. I'm like, which do you prefer? Which one's better? And people are like... I've seen some people say like, oh, hard magic systems, you're taking the magic out of the magic. The magic needs to be magical. And then some people are like, well, a soft magic system is lazy writing. Like, you got to put it into constraints. And I'm like, no. It's just it's really two subgenres. It's like, and they have different goals. Like, they're trying to do different things. So that's my hill to die on, is that both are very valid. And should serve the story as a whole. Which I feel like you could probably say that about basically anything in writing, is that it just needs to serve the story.
Right.
As far as what I prefer to read or write, I really like them both.
Yeah.
For reading, I like both, reading both a lot. I don't have a preference for reading. For writing, I could not do a hard magic system to the level of like Brandon Sanderson, specifically like in the Stormlight Archive. Like the Stormlight Archive, like I said, I think Mistborn's magic system is perfect. Stormlight Archive is really good, but it's a lot more in depth. And like at some point in the series, they're literally doing science experiments on the magic, like like literal actual, which again, my husband loved. I didn't love that part as much because I'm not a scientist. And I don't think I would want to come up with science for my book. Even though it's cool to read, I don't think I would want to create it. I could be wrong, but I think a little bit on the harder side is probably easier to write to me, because I would love to write something with a really soft, mysterious magic system at some point. But I'm almost like, man, I feel like you have to be careful to make it. It really has to feel wondrous. I feel like, and like mystical. And I'm like, ooh, you have to get the tone perfect. I feel like, maybe I could be overthinking it, but I think I tend to. If it's like a spectrum, I read anywhere along the spectrum, and I write closer to the hard magic side, but not all the way.
Yeah, it definitely feels like with the soft one, you just have to try not to make it look like you just said, and it's fantasy, so there's magic in there somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. You don't want it to, because sometimes people do that, and it does feel like they're just like, it's like a cop-out.
And sometimes it's okay.
That's true. Yeah. Sometimes it's
but if you're really relying on it, it is really easy to spot it when that's the case, I guess.
Yeah. And people criticize Lord of the Rings for that, where they're like, Gandalf just swoops in and saves the day at this one scene. But I
like it.
It's fine. I think he pulls it off.
Right. Because it's not like everybody that uses well, okay. I also think there are not that many characters that use it in there.
No,
so that also does kind of make it, I think that's what makes it a little more acceptable, is not everybody's running around just doing whatever because they have magic.
Yeah, it's not like Frodo is like, I'm going to learn to summon the sun or something.
Right.
Yeah. Just a really random example.
Okay. So, in your book, you have a very clear magic system.
I do.
If you want to answer this more for that specific example or in general, do you really have like a process for coming up with magic systems? Sub-question, do you follow Sanderson's 3 laws? I
don't. At least not consciously. I think, because 3 laws again, I gotta look. I remember the third one is one that this is the one I forget. Yeah. I guess kind of I follow his laws, but not like super explicitly. And I don't know about in general. I know for this book specifically, because it was my first one I finished, I was like, I'm just going to write a fantasy book. And I was like, what's an easy magic system to write? Elemental magic. That's going to be the magic system. And it kind of wrote itself. But so a lot of it was like specifically me, like I picked the theme of it because I thought it would be easy to write. And then a lot of it came out of like the world. Like the gods are a very important part of it. And the magic comes from the gods. So like the way the mythology works really influenced the way the magic works, which will make more sense after I finish the trilogy and you've read it all. You'll be like, oh, I see. Hopefully. Right. But yeah, and then because for the constraints and stuff, I kind of just picked them as like, I was like, oh, they have fire collars. I want this to be different than The Last Airbender. They can't make a spark. They have to have a lighter or a match. And then I was like, I want this to be different from The Last Airbender. Instead of controlling earth, there will be some people who control stone and some people who control plants. And that's 2 different powers. So I didn't really have like a well-defined process. I kind of just messed around until it felt like it was working.
Where did the idea of the wildings come from in that? Like,
that's a good question.
Or just that there's a consequence, I guess, to use of magic.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how I came up with that. I think that actually might have been from listening to a Brandon Sanderson podcast episode. Yeah, I don't fully remember how I came up with that, but it might have been that I was like, there needs to be a consequence. And then I was like, what if the consequence is they turn into gross little monsters? And they're all like, ah. And
you said yes.
But I said yes. And then that ended up being a super critical, like one of the main characters, his whole thing is that he's trying to get a room to not turn into one of these monsters. So it ended up really informing the story and like the society, because this is a thing that happens with the magic. Like it definitely affects their society. So maybe I can credit that to Brandon Sanderson. So cool. Thanks. Thanks, Brandon.
Excellent. Brando Sando.
Brando Sando. Do you feel like you have like a process for magic systems? Do you think about the 3 laws?
I think, okay, so this is where I have to reveal my secrets, which is that really the magic system that I'm using in the current book that I'm writing is pretty much the only one with actual rules that I think I've ever come up with. Most of the time, I think when I started writing this story, I was like, soft magic system, because I don't really want to worry about that. And I was definitely taking kind of that lazy route with it, where I was just like, there just is magic because it's fantasy. I say it's lazy. I don't know. Maybe that's just an overcritical way, but moving on from that. But then I think I was just looking at the 3 rules because I was just kind of like, I don't know. I was kind of feeling like the whole thing was a little blah. And the part about the limitations really stuck out. And then I don't know where the idea came from, but I kind of think, not that I necessarily like systemically use the 3 laws, but really the only hard magic system I've come up with was inspired by that concept of like there have to be limitations to what you can do. And so the magic system that I'm writing is really, okay, if you want to talk about science that isn't fully how science actually works, I'm definitely doing that. But yeah, because it works a lot with things that have a wave component. I'm sure that's not the best way to explain that, but like sound, light, and then where it gets really, really mushy, it's like brainwaves, but I'm not going to talk about that very much right now because that's definitely not how it works in real life, but that's okay. I'm saying it's okay. But thinking about like, if you were able to vibrate the air around something to move it, that would be a lot more magical to just be like, oh, you can move something without touching it. But that would make noise. And so there would be a limit to what situation you can use that in, what, like the power behind it, that kind of thing. It was just like thinking of the idea of how that works as far as I understand it so far. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting to say like, oh, you can have capabilities where you can do things that are unnatural as far as like the real world goes, but with that same like kind of scientific concept, like there's a consequence. I don't know. So yes, I use the 3 laws. I don't have a super great system in place for like how I go about doing that, though. It was just kind of like this one sprung up from that, and then I was just like, you know what, that actually does fit this book kind of well. Yeah. Maybe I'll just use that here instead. So yeah, it's nothing about that is solid. But
yeah, I feel like also that since I think this is both of us have like come up with a real magic system like once, because I think this is like I've written other fantasy stuff like sort of, but I never like finished it, and I didn't have anything defined. Yeah, and I certainly didn't have a magic system. So we'll see what future, how we approach it differently for different projects.
Yeah, maybe we don't actually have enough cred to have like super firm answers about that, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. This is the answer we have
now
at this at this period in time.
You're just coming along for the ride. Yeah, we're driving something. I don't know, something going somewhere. Yeah.
Great. So thanks for joining us on that ride. And for watching our video about magic systems. Let us know. Like, do you have a strong opinion about soft or hard magic systems? Which one do you like to write or read? Let us know in the comments your thoughts.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.